Come to that time of the planting season to begin growing tomatoes in the 5 News Garden built by Garden IQ in Johnson. All right, before we get to planting some tomatoes, we want to talk about what we did last week with some herbs, and it was very cold last week.
Yes.
We experimented just a bit. We were 3 out of 4 at least.
3 out of 4, so pretty good. And of course, you see the basil's the one that went, and that's probably the most tender one, so it's not surprising. So we'll just pull that sucker up and get a new one.
So herbs like warm weather, basically.
Definitely,
Okay.
yeah, especially the basil.
All right, so now we're over here in this bed, and we've selected this one to actually plant some tomatoes and different varieties of tomatoes.
Yep, we're gonna do different ones than we did last year in a different bed that we used last year. And so this year we're gonna try a sun gold cherry tomato.
Okay,
and
those are the small ones, right?
That's a small little yellow, very
Okay.
sweet. And then we're gonna do a big beef, and that's gonna be your large beefsteak tomato.
That's my kind. Right
Yes,
there.
great for hamburgers and slicing and BLTs and whatnot.
Now this one plant will get how big now?
It's gonna get very big, so we're gonna do bigger cages this year as well. And so we can show you from those little smaller cages we had last year to big ones, see how big we can get it this year.
We'll do that, the cages next
Yep.
week. All right, so this is nothing more than just
digging the hole.
about anywhere in here?
I think we're right about in the middle.
Okay.
So let's try. And now with yours, you'll see yours is a little lopsided.
Yeah, just a tad.
What you can do is take those bottom leaves off, probably up
right
to
here?
those, yep. And then I'd probably go one
This
more,
one?
those right there.
Okay, and what does that do?
However deep you plant the tomato, the roots are gonna come out of the stem. And so it'll
you
help
wanna
it
get
with
that
support and everything like that.
Is that deep enough right there?
Yeah, I think
and
that's
then
great.
Just go around it?
And just push the soil back in. What my professor would call planting it up to its ears.
Okay. Now notice you also brought some of that handy dandy.
And then we've got our tomato fertilizer available at Garden IQ. And so I've got it ready for you in the cup.
Okay.
And what we're gonna do this time is we're just gonna spread it on top around it, like we've done before.
I remember this from last year. And what does this do now? This has everything in it that...
This is an all-around fertilizer, and it's gonna supply all the nutrients it's gonna need for a little bit. We'll probably add a little bit more down the road.
Okay.
And so we'll just scratch it in.
Now, do you water this a lot? Because you can tell already the water is sinking into this
Yep,
ground.
so we'll try to saturate it really good around the plant. We might not use the whole bucket.
The other issue that we have taken some comments on, when you have a raised bed like this, planting tomatoes, it's a good time to do it now rather than in the ground because this is warmer.
Yep, so you might worry a little bit about soil temperature. Some of the in-ground soil, it'll still be a little cooler than what our day temperatures are gonna be. But with a raised bed like this, it's gonna be a little different, so you have a little bit more leeway. And right now, I think is the perfect time to get your tomatoes in.
So if your garden is in the ground, you may want to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, you might monitor those temperatures if you have a way, or you might wait another week where we're getting all this warm weather, and it's gonna warm that soil up.
Okay. Is that pretty typical for any plant, or is it just kind of for this one?
Most summer plants, like tomatoes and definitely peppers. Like peppers, I'd still wait a couple more weeks or so. But yep, for most summer plants like that, they need a cool or a warm soil temperature.
Next week, are we going to bring the cages in and install those, or is it too early for that?
It might be too early. We might do it next week or the week after, probably.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
well,
sir.
we'll see we'll show you what we're working on next week. Next week.
How
about that? All right, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
How's that for a tease for next week? If you have any comments or questions for the experts at Garden IQ and Johnson, please text them to us right now, 479-785-5000.
We make sure they get them, and we'll get the answers back to you, right?